Hello, Internet, and thank you very much for tuning into the Cloud Therapist YouTube channel. My name is Saim Safdar. I am the co-host of the Cloud Native FM podcast, and my friend and the host of this podcast, Richard Simon, is in London, and he having some very wonderful guest alongside him. So I can't wait to say them hello, both of them. So let's go straight to Richard Simon, the host of Cloud Therapist YouTube channel. Richard, you are live
Hey,
now.
hello, internet, hello, YouTube, hello, all subscribers, hello, everybody who's watching. Saim, you're back
Oh,
again,
thank
doing your usual
awesome,
hosting.
awesome, absolutely. I'm missing you,
You're
and
looking
I think
after the
tell
shop,
us
as they say, while I'm away.
absolutely, absolutely.
Fantastic.
Richard, tell us how
Yeah,
you've been busy. What's the gonna day gonna look like? I think it's right 4 p.m. for you.
it's 4 p.m. and everybody's packed up, so everybody's going home. I think it's been 2 days of technical overload for everybody. So yeah, everybody's had enough. They're all going home, probably going down to the pub or something. Find the nearest pub and dive in there for a few drinks. That's been fantastic. Second day. Unfortunately, I've had to spend some time on work. Work gets in the way sometimes of these sort of fun events. But yeah, I did do that, and then yeah, I did see a couple of the talks. So it was quite interesting. And there was lots of really different ones today. So I think it was, to me, it came across as kind of being a little bit more varied when I was looking at all of the tracks and the panels and things like that. So even sovereignty came up. There's actually a sovereign cloud something observability something going on right now. Check it out later on, guys, when you get a chance on the OpenUK YouTube channel. I suspect we'll try and provide with all the links in the description of this live stream. But yeah, lots of different varied stuff. So it's been an interesting one. I think there's been a little bit more recognition around some of the sort of burning topics, really around sort of open source and cloud native and things like that. So yesterday, I think we saw discussions around the licensing from vendors and things like that. So that's been really interesting. Was I think it was next to zero last year. I was the one who was screaming on my channel about it, but I didn't see a lot of take up on that. The whole AI thing again is sort of still hanging around. So still talking about some of the impact of that, the implications of that, not just on sort of code generation and things like that, but also in terms of how the open source sort of communities really define open AI, or rather AI in general. And then, yeah, then you've got kind of the open models, the LLMs, the open source models. Kind of, are they really open source? Are they kind of Linux type of open source, or a different type of open source? So lots of discussions around that, and also contrasting those with the more closed sort of models like the open AI ones, as I said earlier. So yeah, all that sort of things going on. Lots of other ones in terms of the open source, really not going to be able to do it justice in sort of 30 minutes, 45 minutes. But lots of interesting things. And like I said, I think most of the videos, if not all of them, all the talks and everything are going to be on the OpenUK YouTube channel. So yeah, quite a successful event. Really found it very useful. Lots of interesting things. Learned lots of new stuff. Met some new people as well, as I always try to do. So yeah, that's kind of, I think, the roundup.
Oh yes, absolutely. And Richard, remind me of this is this your first live conference you are attending in 2025?
This is this is indeed the first live conference that I'm attending in
Wow.
2025, and also I must say we have to kind of give a shout out to ourselves here, saying, because we're the only ones live streaming from the
Yes.
Open UK's State of Open Conference 2025. Nobody else is live streaming. Lots of recording going on, lots of photography, and people kind of doing nice poses and things, but no live streams. We're the only ones, as far as I know, that are live streaming. If anybody else knows anybody else who's been live streaming, please let us know. Drop us something in the comments section. But there you go.
Absolutely. If you don't know anybody who's actually doing the live stream, then your job is to hit the bell and subscribe button as well,
Yeah,
because this is the
exactly.
channel you need to be looking forward to
Yeah,
as well. And I think
yeah,
as a reminder, like back in December when you're planning the roadmap for the conference live coverage, I think we did had this conference is in our umbrella. because we're thinking about AWS team and
Yeah.
Richard actually emailed me, I think just before, I think this Tuesday, I believe, this Monday, I believe. Monday he emailed me, and now we are live streaming.
Yeah. And as they saying, do you fancy live streaming from SOOCon? Yes, it was. Yes,
Yes,
we're quite spontaneous, aren't we, with our planning? Actually, there's not a lot of planning going on. It's just quite spontaneous. So yeah,
yes, absolutely. And Richard, remind me of, I think we need to pack up some guests as well, because
we do.
open source licensing is our best topic. We love this
Yes,
topic from all of the
yes, we
different
do.
angles.
Yes, we do.
And we need to prepare some guests after this conference to talk about what's actually been happening in
Yeah.
this gigantic ecosystem of open source.
Indeed, yeah. I've actually done a panel with the lady who organises, or the CEO for OpenUK, Amanda Brock. So that should be coming out fairly soon on the channel. So I have done a panel discussion with her precisely on that topic. But there's definitely a lot more to discuss in that. So I think we're ready to introduce our first guest for today. So hopefully we'll have a second guest, although that's not guaranteed. But she is still around. But let's stick with the first guest, because she is with me right now. So let me see if I can make the switch over now with my inferior way of working with technology. If I can find, hang on, I think I need to switch over. Hold on a minute. Let me do it this way. Okay. Oh, I've got the settings now. See? Okay. Hold on. So camera, right,
One.
I'm gonna switch over to a
Oh,
lady called Anne. Let me switch it. Okay,
hello, Anne.
let me go back now to facing this way. There we go. Okay, we got Anne in the picture. All right, so I'm going to let Anne do all the introduction, because I'll probably do a complete disservice for kind of her name, her role, and everything else that she does. And we'll then get into the discussion about Percona, because Percona has been here. They've been exhibiting. They've been doing lots of really good talks and discussions and helping out. And some of their guys have been volunteering at OpenUK as well. So at the SOOCon conference. So yeah, that's all good. Right. So Anne, welcome to the Cloud Therapist channel.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm Anne Schlemmer. I'm CEO of Percona. We are an open source database company. The databases that we cover are MySQL, MongoDB, Postgres, Valkey. We just announced this week Valkey. For those who aren't familiar, that's the fork of Redis that happened last year. It's in the Linux Foundation. We're in the cloud native space as well, with some of our products, with our operators, and also with our Percona Everest. Yeah, so it's our second year here at State of OpenCon.
Fantastic. So has actually SOOCon been for you? What you guys have been up to at SOOCon?
Well, as you mentioned, we've had various talks. We've had talks in the security space. We also had a talk yesterday in the finance track about cloud and financial companies going into the cloud and accepting that. Peter Zaitsev, our founder, was on keynotes panel yesterday. Just overall, right, what's happening in the open source space. You'd mentioned, I heard you on the intro about licensing and what's happening there, and how we've gotten involved in that as well. So we've been around, and like you mentioned, we had some volunteers, not only in our booth, but then in the Valkey booth, as I mentioned, because Valkey is a part of the Linux Foundation. So one of our tech leads and our Valkey evangelists were there supporting that, and then also just generally supportive of OpenUK is an amazing organization that way, very much volunteer run, doing great work and really advocating for open source, just like Percona. So we're definitely a part of it.
Fantastic. So have you kind of interacted with some of the visitors? What kind of questions have you had? What sort of people have been talking about as well? What's kind of the general sort of view?
So it's interesting, just as kind of floating around and listening to the various talks. Yesterday, I was the co-chair of the finance track, and so just fintech and banks, and people don't usually think, oh, open source and banks because it's such highly regulated. But in fact, a lot of the banks have already adopted and are using open source. But really, like if you look at the Finos organization within the Linux Foundation, it's great to see the banks coming together to figure out a way to collaborate. I think you mentioned like regulators. How do you stay ahead of regulation? Well, you educate the regulators, or you show that you've self-regulated, and seeing that definitely in the financial services sector, because some of that, what they're doing with open source isn't going to be, if they collaborate, it's not giving away their secret sauce. It's not their competitive advantage. It's the things that they all have to deal with. So that's understanding that open source nature and doing that. So there were still questions around that, like what's regulation going. I know you mentioned today the big thing was AI, and how do we regulate there? But yesterday it was more so what are the different controls? How do we, one of the talks was on patents and patent controls, but also then just what's it like to do that journey of being from closed source to open source in finance. So yeah, pretty interesting conversations.
Okay, and just kind of when customers are using the solutions that you guys work on, what are the sort of maybe some of the challenges that they're facing? Not with your solutions, but just generally kind of coming onto those platforms that you guys work on, and just generally with like databases and things like that. When it comes to moving off some of the sort of more traditional RDBMS type of platforms onto maybe cloud platforms or even the open source platforms, what do customers kind of see as challenges in terms of doing that?
Well, I mean, database is core, right? We say we're the plumbers, so not always the sexiest thing, but that's okay, right? Know your role.
It's a fantastic job in the background.
Yes, exactly.
Nobody knows
Exactly right. Like, we don't want to be a best kept secret, but we want things running smoothly. Customers definitely, when you're migrating or anything, or even just choosing a new database, they really need to. They get concerned about scale. Availability, always security has to be there. So we always want to make sure that we're helping our customers. Sometimes they need us as advocates for them internally, and maybe some resistance that they're getting from their developers or something if they're switching into a database that people aren't familiar with. So we help with that, and what the familiarity is, making sure that we can speak to all levels of the business. So obviously the techs, we've got that down, but how do we talk to the CIO? How do you talk to the budget owner? How do you say, why is open source good? One of the things where we stand out is we're multi-tech, so they can reduce their vendor footprint. So of course they think about costs, but also there's efficiencies there, and the teaming, and how do we talk to the customers about that, and making sure right purpose, right? We really want to understand what they're trying to do and where they're trying to go. And that's an important conversation that we always want to be a part of, to understand what their business is and what they're trying to achieve with overall, and then that we can help them with that on the database. But I think the concern is always to make sure that, again, databases are plumbing, and there's new things coming up with data, and how do you get to your data, particularly in this changing world. So we want to make sure that it's accessible for them, as well as able to scale in an effective way for them. So those are a lot of the conversations that we have with folks.
Interesting. So one of the things, obviously, that's been sort of happening recently, and it's has been a concern in lots of areas of sort of the open source, is some of the vendors changing their licensing. And I was just having a conversation with Same in regards to that. So what's kind of, again, the feedback from customers? Are they sort of concerned about things like that? Are they, sort of knee deep in some of those scenarios, perhaps? Are they thinking of maybe moving off of those and things like that? Not just necessarily in the database space. I think we've seen a little bit of that maybe with Redis and so on, but just generally speaking, there's been a number of those vendors that have kind of, changed their licensing scheme. So yeah, I'm just curious about kind of what customers are telling you about that.
Yeah, most of our customers that are coming to us or having that conversation is they're intentionally choosing open source. And one of the reasons they'll say is they want the control, they want the transparency of being able to see code and having that ownership. So then when it comes to license changes, it's concerning in the sense that it could break trust. But I think that in terms of the move, maybe it's premature to call it a movement, but I would say that the example that we've had with Valky and going into a foundation immediately, I think that's a winning proposition. And I think that we're also seeing, and larger players, you don't know this when you start your project. Like maybe you've started an open source project because you're just trying to solve your own problem. And then all of a sudden it's become huge and people are dependent on it, right? But when there's larger companies that are doing projects like that and understanding that people are a little bit suspect on some of the commercial interests if you're not really transparent out front. Like I would actually prefer a company to be, here's our open source and then here's our open core, and being really clear about that up front. Because otherwise we might be seeing that more and more corporate entities or single vendor owners are going to start putting into foundations, which I think is good. And for the customers, they do have to give any large company, as they're looking at any software, they're going to evaluate the strength of the company behind it. And now they might have to question that. Is it true that you're going to keep your license, right? Are you feeling comfortable with that? And I think it's going to be more scrutiny, quite frankly, even just on the adoption side of things, definitely on the purchasing side of things to understand. And customers will ask us, they want to know our roadmap, they want to know where we're going, for those reasons, because they're data. And I mean, I'm going to, even though you said not just databases, but you fall to the fact that you make decisions, or making business decisions on their applications. That's not trivial, right? When you're picking your stack, your technology stack, you gotta feel pretty confident. Sure, things are changing, but there's some core items that you're not going to be flipping out every year or two. So,
Indeed, yeah. I think it's only when you start encountering some of these issues, or you come to that point, that you kind of appreciate the impact and how much sort of a lot of these technologies and platforms are kind of ingrained into, kind of what you're doing. So thank you for that. And so Saim had some questions for you. I hope you don't mind. We'll get to those, because he was so excited. I said, can you just write them down for me so then I can ask Anne when she's here? So he's smiling on it. You can't see him, but he is smiling away, I promise you, on this side. Okay, so let me see if I can read some of this. So I think we've kind of talked a little bit about databases in general, and you kind of gave us a little bit of a view, which was great, and also kind of customer concerns and so on. The first question Saim had was around the state of the kind of databases around Kubernetes specifically. So again, we don't need to go into a lot of detail, but just kind of what is Precona's sort of stance on that, and where are you guys kind of up to at the moment?
We got into the Kubernetes space back in 2018. So I mentioned we've got Kubernetes operators for Mongo, Postgres, and MySQL. We'll be adding Valky. We also put out Everest, which is first open source private DBaaS that's on the market. Bring your own infrastructure. So we're in on the space, but there's still, I would say, the market is split as to how comfortable they are with putting databases in Kubernetes. So, like I said, we're all in. We have it secure, but we also understand that that's not for everybody. So we have other options as well. I was going to say I think it was in November. It's now February. Yikes! At KubeCon, and there was the data on Kubernetes track before on that, and just seeing that adoption is ticking up, but there's still things we need to overcome. Yeah.
Cool. And again, just sticking with Kubernetes for a minine, etcd, that's kind of been around for a bit in terms of kind of being the database. Are you guys or anybody else kind of looking at offering alternatives to that? Are there alternatives to that? Is it kind of an area of interest for Percona to sort of get into and kind of get underneath sort of Kubernetes, so to speak?
Not at this time, right? It's something that we look at and keep an eye on, but it's not something in our roadmap right now. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. And I guess it can't be an interview without mentioning Gen AI and AI in general. Come on, you knew that was coming. You knew that was coming. Come on. Okay. So what about sort of AI in the database space? Can we kind of expect to see anything there? I mean, let me give you an example. I was actually thinking about this. So, the sort of more traditional SQL sort of databases. I thought, well, why isn't somebody just kind of putting a generative AI sort of front end to that, so we don't have to write SQL scripts anymore? We can just query in natural language and then ask the database through that AI front end to generate whatever we want out of that database. What was kind of your take on that? Is Percona thinking about things like that?
We definitely are. You have to be looking at it, right? More deterministic, maybe, than Gen AI. Looking at it right now, the models are, and we heard about it this morning, right? The models are evolving very, very quickly. There's still enough of the opportunity for hallucinations and whatnot that you don't want in a database. But it's definitely, absolutely something to be considering and looking at. And someone's going to figure it out. So someone's absolutely going to figure it out. And so us at Percona, we're looking at it, but we're also looking at it in different areas as well. On, sure, setting up the database can happen, but it's the things of the observability of your database and self-correcting, those day two type of activities that are going on once it's set up. That's where there's some interesting opportunities there to just making sure it's more performant, but really, again, have to be super careful with what's going on there. So we're looking at it, and there are definitely opportunities. I'm not a futurist, but 3 to 5 years, I think it's going to be a very different conversation.
Excellent. Okay. Well, I think you've definitely made at least one person online very happy, because you've answered all his questions and thoroughly. He's really excited. So he's smiling away, and he's clapping as well. So extra clap. Okay. Excellent. Very good. So, and thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. And at such a late hour as well, because everybody else, I think, outside is packing away now. So. And we were silly enough to do a live stream right at the end, but we really appreciate you taking the time. I would love to have you back on again, on Cloud Therapist channel and Cloud Native FM. It'll be really cool to get you back on again at some time and kind of talk a little bit more Percona, talk a little bit about solutions, databases, things like that. That'll be really cool.
We love it. Love it, and other team members as well. Yeah, like you say, Edith. We love it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, Edith is I love Edith. She's cool. I think I did actually speak to Peter at some point as well. So we had a conversation a while back. So yeah, but maybe we could do like a Percona panel. That sounds really cool. Well, Saeem is clapping, so I think he's up for it. So that's good. Fantastic. Thanks again, Anne. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Richard, and thanks for what you do. Enjoy your live stream.
Excellent. All right. So I'm going to switch back for a minute. We'll let Anne go. Let me see if I can switch this back again to me. Just watch the wall for a second. And okay. Right. We're back to me again. Here we go.
Oh, great. Awesome. Thanks for
Let me switch back this way.
Thanks for the wonderful interview. I really enjoyed the conversation with Anne as well. And I think we should team up with Anne team as well, because I've been following Percona for a very long time. I have some questions for the team as well. But definitely, we have to think about some panels, something around databases in general as well. Because without data, there's no AI.
Exactly. So I'm going to have a quick look around outside. Now, hopefully, if I can just walk around this way and get her attention, hopefully we might have one more guest on. But let me go outside for a minute, and then I'll be back to talk to this particular other super special guest. So let's have a look outside and see what's happening. Um, Actually, there's not a lot happening here. Hold on. Let me turn the camera around, so hopefully you can see. You don't need to see me now. Okay. So
Yes,
this
I
used
can
to
see.
be this was the showcase or exhibition area. So as you can see, it's all pretty much packed up now. Let's walk down this way. Some more folks having really late meetings.
Oh my God.
Yeah. The guys here have all packed up pretty much. More packing
Yeah,
going
but
on. Ladies
oh
here,
yes.
live on YouTube. Say hello. Hey. Right. Cool. They're all packing up. Say hi, YouTube live. Hey. Thank you. Okay. Yeah. So we're pretty much there. I think they're going to close up here at 5. So
Hmm. Oh, I think I lost Richard for a moment. So we will see when Richard back up with us is again. But I think Richard actually did a talk yesterday around keynote talk. I think.
oh,
Oh,
we're back
Richard, you're
again.
back. You're back again.
Okay, we're back again. All right. So I was saying to you, did you see these magazines? Can you see these
Yes,
magazines? Oh, look,
absolutely.
we've got Linux magazine, we've got admin magazine, we've got another Linux magazine. Lovely lady here,
Richard, have you
reception.
pick up some have you pick it up some of the things as well, because in my I might need to pick it from you if I able
Hmm.
to come at the KubeCon London.
Yes, yes,
You
definitely.
need.
So I'm picking some stickers now for my kids. I can't go home without some
Oh,
stickers. Yeah, I got to get some stickers. So I'm going to do that now. Otherwise, they won't let me back in the house. Oh, look, there's a kids one here. Look, can you see that?
yes,
Can you see that?
absolutely.
Yeah. So we're going to do that one. Oops, sorry. Keep messing people things up. Oh, one of these ones from Control Plane. We'll have that, and another one of those. Right. What else we got here? One of those. I think that will do. Okay. Cool. Kids are sorted. Right. So yeah. So I think some people are hanging around still. I think there's
Mhm.
maybe a panel discussion going on back there.
Richard,
Uh,
have you actually
yeah.
have you seen actually a chain guard like booth or anything something like that during your presence in here?
I didn't see Chain Guard booth, but I think they were here and they were presenting, I believe. So I think what we
Hmm.
need to do now is go back to my second guest. So if I can turn back to me for a minute, and then we're going to go back to my
Yes.
second guest, and I'll switch us over again, and we'll have a quick highlight discussion with our second guest, our mystery guest, second and mystery
Oh my
guest.
God. Oh my God.
All right, so this is going to
I'm
be cool.
delighted. I'm delighted to say hi.
Yeah, yeah, okay, all right. So let me sit myself down. Oh, oh, it's tiring walking around, you know.
I think I think will we have similar sitting areas for the KubeCon? That would be great one. Then we interview a
I'm
lot
sure
of
they
the
will.
people.
I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will. Okay, let me switch over and do the weird switching over thing again because I can't work. Oh, okay, it's here, right here. Hold on a second. And the mystery is going to be revealed.
One,
Um,
two.
right now.
Oh my God. Great.
Hey, it
Hello.
is Cheryl Han.
Richard. Hey, Richard. Hello. Nice to see you again. How's it going?
I'm good. How are you? How's things going?
Good. It feels like it's only 2 days, and I'm always surprised at how kind of exhausted I am by the end of these days. But it's been great, just talking to people, catching up with people. It's really good.
Fantastic. So Cheryl, what was your involvement at SOOCon for this year?
I was moderating a panel on AI, building AI together for everyone, kind of how we could get to that Kubernetes moment where, you know, infrastructure shifted from something that was closed source, expensive, controlled by a couple of big companies, to this explosion of interoperability standards, startup ecosystem, all the innovation that came out of that. And it was like, could we do that? Are we going to see that again for AI? So that was my panel. It was like getting opinions and hearing what people on the ground thought.
Fantastic. So, what kind of conversations have you had in the sort of the corridors of SOOCon and some of the other people attending?
Well, one thing I noticed is, you know, AI is kind of a there's definitely like it's definitely happening. Feel I think even a year ago, from sort of State of OpenCon, there was still this feeling of like, oh, what's happening, what's not. But last month, the UK government announced this AI Action Opportunity Plan, and it feels like the inevitable is happening now. So now the questions have shifted more from whether it's going to happen to how and when. That's what I feel I've had most conversations about.
Right. And what about sort of the cloud native sort of space? Are we seeing a lot more kind of, you know, AI sort of coming into that space? Are we going to see a lot more sort of adoption and even just augmenting maybe some of the sort of current projects? What's your thoughts on that?
AI, cloud native itself is getting pretty mature now. I think it's pretty widely adopted, and there's still people adopting, but it's mainly laggards now. So certainly within the meetup that I run, Cloud Native London, more and more talks are being about AI workloads and how we run different AI workloads on top of Kubernetes. And then on the flip side of that, how we use AI to help us understand what's happening with our systems and make improvements. So yeah, 100%. It's definitely, these two worlds are overlapping.
Fantastic. So Cloud Native Meetup is actually happening tonight, and we're both going to head off there straight after this. So where can people get online? Is it from what's your website again?
Yeah. If you go on meetup.com and search for Cloud Native London, run it first Wednesday of every month in London, and would love people to come and show up. Maybe not in, you know, an hour, whatever it is tonight. That would be amazing. But, you know, we're here every month. So
fantastic. Well, they can have a little bit of dinner and then join us online, maybe. That's it. Right?
Yeah. I mean, we live stream to YouTube and to Twitch, so you can follow along there.
Fantastic. Okay. Well, I think that's it for Cheryl. Cheryl, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it, and kind of doing this impromptu interview with us.
Yeah. Thank you, Richard. Thank you.
Fantastic. Okay. So, yeah, I think we're all wrapping up here, Saim. So I'm going to head over to the Cloud Native Meetup, as I said, with Cheryl. We've got a tube line or two to catch on the London Underground. And then we're, yeah, I don't even know what's happening tonight, but I think all the topics at Cloud Native Meetup tend to be fantastic. So I think we're going to have a great time.
Yes, absolutely. But Richard, your time is to recap everything, because number one, you need to recap what the keynote you have did. And I think you are actually in the second day. You will be here for the tomorrow full day. I know you are a bit sleepy. You're sleep deprived. Sorry about that. That's
Yeah,
your
that's all right.
job at the
Yeah, that's
conference.
right. Yeah. No, that's right. Yeah, no, I've
But it's
been,
your-
yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Richard.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, I mean, it's been a really good conference overall. The turnout has been, I think, okay. We've not had maybe as much, sort of turnout as I recall from last year. Maybe last year actually had more people. I think what I would like to see next is for more sort of sponsorship coming in to support OpenUK and the SOOCon sort of conference. I think that's the thing that I really want to see sort of happening next, and kind of get more support from the vendors and some of the bigger players as well. So maybe kind of get the Microsofts and Amazon and Google also participating as well. There's certainly the tracks, the discussions, the panels have been really good. The ones I've actually managed to catch, and I did obviously look at the agenda, and there was a ton of other really good ones there as well, which I missed out on, unfortunately, because double booking or work or whatever. But all of those will be on the OpenUK YouTube channel, I believe, and we can maybe pick up on those and kind of do a little bit of a review at some point between you and me. But otherwise it's been really good. We've had some good discussions on the live stream. I've had some offline conversations, which will all come out on the YouTube channel, on the Cloud Therapist YouTube channel fairly soon. So we'll get those out for you as well. Lots of different discussions around, sort of the maintenance and development of Kubernetes, and again, AI coming into that sort of open source space, and various other things. So all of that will also be coming out as separate videos on the Cloud Therapist channel. And I think it's been quite successful. I'd love to see kind of how some of these things will develop over the next few months. I'm sure there's going to be lots of interesting events and things happening in this space. And then you and I obviously will need to kind of focus on KubeCon London. I think that will be the next thing that we'll kind of try and hopefully be at.
Absolutely, because it is only 2 months away, and we need to buckle up, build our muscles for that as well. And I believe there are chances of even we have all of them are field reporter for the KubeCon London on different areas, or might be one of them is actually in a virtual. And I bet there's 2 people are our field reporter for KubeCon London. One is Richie, and one might be Colin Griffin as well, because we actually. He's done a good job last time with the KubeCon Salt Lake as well. So that's coming up in the near future as well. I think for the KubeCon in particular, I'm really looking forward to the Platform Engineering Day. Is becoming a very big thing as well. And I think one thing I really like about, even though we hate Kubernetes these days, because we want it to become invisible. I do not want to interact with it. But one thing is good, like developer portals are becoming a big thing for a lot of the organization. They see a pain of running, managing, configuring, updating, upgrading Kubernetes. Now they want to invisible layer as we're using an IDP. That's the interesting part of it as well. And also I want to see like what happened, I'm really looking forward. Is anyone from the OpenAI is going into the KubeCon? Then we need to interview them.
We definitely need to grab somebody from OpenAI. Definitely. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Yes, absolutely. I think this is a very interesting podcast as well for them as well, to thinking like, what in the hell? And one thing I think they recently announced a deep research. It's basically you can give them, and I'm actually learning around it today, like what the new announcement, what the deep research project is doing as well. But I think, Richard, when you're back home, I think on the live stream, I'm giving you some task. Unfortunately, one, we need to back up with some guest on the OpenAI. Number 2, we need to recap of the state of OpenCon. Number 3, we need to put up some videos around open source licensing. Might be a panel talk with some people who are heavily involved in this space as well. Because I'm supposed to be hearing, because if now the AI is going to the same route of open sourcing their model, what's going to happen? It's a very tricky, very important, very intellectual, sometimes for very angeristic kind of a discussion for some of the folks as well. But we need to keep an eye out as well. But it's been super delighted. Like you spend time with us. I know you've been busy. You're spending time with your companies, customers as well, doing podcasts live, chatting people, emailing them, booking them for the live stream, and then chatting with me for all the usual stuff we do together. So how in the hell you managed to do that?
It's been crazy, and I now need to leave soon because I think they're kicking us out of here. The conference is literally over. The security guards are on us now.
Okay, no worries. Yes, I will leave you early, absolutely. But thank you very much for spending time with us as well.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for hosting the last couple of days. Thanks very much. Really appreciate you doing it.
Yes, absolutely. And let's recap with just a 1 minute or under 30 second. So tell us, people, after listening to all the people conversation here, just in a 1 minute recap, where people should be focused on more going forward in 2025.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely the sort of auto generation of sort of code with with AI platforms. I think that's coming in more with the more recent models, the O1 and O3 type of models, where their reasoning capability. I think we'll see a lot more of that coming in. There's actually been some videos on YouTube already saying, even with the O1 model, which came out last year, so kind of old news now, but even that model has been very impressive, and people have kind of got it to a junior developer sort of level in terms of its capabilities. So certainly the AI space and kind of how that progresses. Like I said, I'd like to see more sort of focus on really Kubernetes becoming a lot more sort of easier to use, easier to manage. Again, I've done some talks on that. There's another a video which I haven't released yet, and hopefully that will come out, which will be around that. I asked the developers and the maintainer guys yesterday in regards to that as well. So hopefully that video will also come out. So again, yeah, I'd like to kind of see some more progress being made there. And I think that some of the other topics we will look at. We'll see certainly what happens in the open source licensing space as well. So if anybody else, any of the other vendors are going to dare to make changes for this year. But I think those are kind of maybe the outlook things. I will be doing a Patch State of Play projections, January projections talk as well with my usual guest Paul Bevan from Law Research. So I will be doing that, and we're going to be diving a lot more into all of this stuff as we go forward as well on that episode.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Richard. It's been a pleasure talking to you all the time as well. And guys, this is the only YouTube channel, The Cloud Therapist, where the state of OpenCon is live stream. And thanks to the Richard. So tons of appreciation for him, because it's not easy, I know, packing and scheduling all the stuff as well. So he's been very busy. So wishing you a very good sleep for the next 2 days. And you
Thank you.
deserve it. You deserve it.
Thank you,
All of this
Sam.
sleep.
Thank you for staying up late as well. I know it's late for you. Appreciate you minding the shop and being the host as well. Thanks very much.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you,
Thanks,
Richard.
guys.
I will leave you off from here, and I will be packing up. Thank you very much, Richard. So thanks, guys. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. So stay tuned for the latest episodes on the Cloud Therapist YouTube channel. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button and also notify and hit the bell icon as well. With that, thank you very much for hanging out with us on this YouTube channel, and we will be meeting you again in the near future, where Richard having some wonderful plans for this YouTube channel as well. Bye bye, everyone.